Folks, we'll call to order the general session of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. This is the 20th day of June, 2017. I want to thank all of you for coming. Welcome. We're certainly glad you're here and glad to see all of you. First of all, we've got, and I think I saw Dwayne Parton. Are you here? Where's our pastor? Come on up. I think you're at the First Methodist Church in Mount Gilead. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, you're in a good place.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the honor and privilege of offering the invocation. I come as a disciple of Jesus Christ, and whether we all here in this room share that exact same view, or whether we come from different perspectives, we all seek the common good of our community. Let us pray. O God of the ages, who gives preference to the poor and the least of these, who causes nations to rise and fall, whose ways are not our ways and whose thoughts are beyond our thoughts, we give you thanks that in this land of privilege and freedom, we have cast our lot with you. Be our ruler, our guardian, and our guide. May we seek the common good, to honor one another and live peaceably with our neighbors. May we refuse to eat the bread of anxious toil, and may we be content to receive daily bread from your hand. May we refuse to return evil for evil, and let us live in harmony with all. Watch over those who lead our community, and bless those whom they represent. Give them the wisdom of your grace. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pastor, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. If you are able, please rise and join us in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion from Commissioner Crisco. Thank you. We need a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Matheny. Are there any discussions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Two things that are not on our agenda I want to speak to just briefly. One is, please continue to keep Commissioner Copeland in your prayers. He's struggling with his health. Commissioner Copeland has had a bout with cancer, and Jim has actually talked with him today. He's feeling better, but still got a long ways to go. Please keep our Commissioner Copeland, who is a very good commissioner, in your prayers, and we thank you for that. Secondly, we have some 4-H people here tonight. Miss Chrissy or Miss Molly, will you introduce these folks for us? You sure? Come up, let them turn around, let everybody see them.
So tonight I have our county council officers from Montgomery County 4-H with us. I'll let them tell you who they are, what school they go to, and then what their position is in Montgomery County 4-H.
My name is Sarah Lexi. I'm the president of Montgomery County Council, and I go to UR Charter Academy. Hi, I'm Hope Davis. I am vice president of Montgomery County Council, and I go to UR Charter Academy also.
My name is Jesse Fisher. I'm secretary, treasurer, and the county council for the county. I'm Beth Fisher, and I'm counselor, and I'm required for.
We are here tonight so that these young people can learn more about how local government is run. And Hope, our vice president, will be the representative at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Youth Summit this year for your annual meeting, and will be our representative. So she has to attend the meeting, and we've decided to come as an entire team and support her in that as well.
And if you will, because we've got a lot of people here tonight, introduce yourself and who and of course you've got the boss with you tonight.
Yes, my name is Chrissy Haynes. I know most folks in the room. I am the 4-H Youth Development Extension Agent for Montgomery County Cooperative Extension. And Molly Alexi is our County Extension Director. And we are glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, Commissioner Matheny will be seeing you at the North Carolina County, I assume, won't you, at the county? He's our representative of the North Carolina County Commissioners Association. And we actually got an email from them today that because of our, and you folks, especially the county commissioners representatives going to go, that because of our lobbying and efforts with the legislature, we got a lot of things in the budget that we were struggling with, and I won't go over all those, but the state budget was pretty kind to us, especially with schools and lottery funds and things of that nature, and hopefully we'll get, it's not over, but hopefully we'll get that budget through, and you'll learn about that when you go up there. We just got that email a few minutes ago.
Well, we thank you for your support of youth, and we thank you for your support of 4-H and cooperative citizens.
We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. And folks, a lot of you heard all of our phones ring a few minutes ago and thought all of us was getting calls. Actually, what happened is, Matthew, we had a water problem down Windblow Road, and we're on the same call link that everybody is, and that was our automated caller where everybody was up here trying to turn their phones off. So all of us was getting the same call about what was going on down there. Folks, we have a presentation tonight, and let me say a word or two about this before we get started. Our commissioners understand this is a sensitive issue in a lot of ways, with no matter how you feel about this issue. We want to hear from you. Sam Martin's going to represent the Montgomery County Democrat Party, who has offered up a resolution to the commissioners, and we're going to change just a little bit of our format because we do want to hear from everybody that wants to speak. And no matter where you are on this, we want to hear from you. And generally, we have, and we'll hear those in just a few minutes after we are finished with this presentation, we have rules of engagement, if you will, about the public forum. Now, I will tell you, this is not an opportunity to ask questions or for debate. It is for you to talk to us about how you feel about things, and we're not going to start, and we're asking you to do the same thing, debate and have problems like that here. We want to hear from you, but we'll be glad to talk with you about our feelings after the meeting or anytime by phone. I had several calls over the last week about this, as probably all of us did. But tonight during our session, we generally have a 3-minute time limit, or you can yield some time. Tonight, I'm not going to start the clock on anybody, but I will ask all of you to try to contain, if you want to talk, down into the 3-minute section. And if I start gaveling you, it's going to be asking you to speed up, because we don't want nobody to dominate the session. However, we're not going to put it to the true, what we discussed, Matt, 3-minute rule. So we want everybody to get to be heard. We know there's another resolution here. Is Mr. Frick here?
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Had an accident in South Carolina. There's another individual.
That is funny. What I want to say that individual is, we have seen, the commissioners have seen that resolution and certainly want it presented, but please keep that in contained time frame as well.
Sure.
They're not on the agenda, but they can go into public forum to do that, and please continue, try to keep that to 3 minutes as well if you can.
He has a statement that is well
That,
within the-
absolutely. We'll get to that when their time comes. All right. That being said, and Mr. Sam Martin is on our agenda. He called, and we did offer equal time to others as well, in the Republican Party and others. But Mr. Martin, if you'll come forward, we'll let you present your resolution, please, sir. One thing we will ask you to do is, when you come forward, because we are on the record 2 ways, by audio and video, is we'll ask you to give your name and address so we'll know who was here and speaking, and we appreciate you doing that as well.
Hello, Commissioners and Mr. County Manager. It's good to be here. My name is Sam Martin. I'm from Bisco, 222 Hunsaker Street, Bisco. And I'm representing the Democratic Party as the newly elected president. I thank you for the opportunity to present the resolution to the Board of County Commissioners. A great deal of activity has taken place in the past leading to this resolution. Discussion of the topic started many years ago, and the presence of the flag on a privately owned but publicly subsidized building has garnered a great deal of attention and surprise by many. Although this situation should not be a political issue for Democrats, Republicans, or unaffiliated voters, the first to recognize this as a problem and offer a temporary solution was the Montgomery County Board of Elections, who addressed voter complaints that the flag was not removed during voting hours on election day. The board unanimously voted to move the polls to another site. A little background. On April 15th, the resolution was presented to the Montgomery County Democratic Convention, where it was discussed and accepted after changes to wording were suggested. A committee was formed which met and made the changes. Final vote to accept the resolution was made at a countywide meeting on April 27th. As party chair, I had discussions with Chairman Morris and Commissioner Wooten. They, along with Commissioner Copeland, were present at the previous meetings and were up to date on the situation. I then reached out to Commissioner Matheny and shared the resolution with him in hopes that a bipartisan approach would help in the discussion of the efforts to resolve the flag issue. The resolution was mailed 1 week later to the stakeholders addressed in this resolution. I then contacted the clerk to the board and arranged to be placed on the agenda this evening. On May 20th, the resolution was presented and passed unanimously by the District 8 Democratic Convention. Montgomery County is more diverse today than at any time in my lifetime. Racial and ethnic groups are present today that were not present when the fire departments were organized more than 60 years ago in some cases. Times are changing rapidly. For example, the BOCC Fire Department, which I know the best, has a female firefighter, 2 African American firefighters, and 4 Hispanic firefighters. They represent the taxpayers in the BOCC Fire District, but they would not hesitate to offer mutual aid to the fire department and the citizens of URA or anywhere else they were called. I do not feel it's necessary to go through the resolution line by line since you have had it. You're responsible county officials and you've studied the document thoroughly in the past month. Is that agreeable with you?
Yes, sir.
I do ask that you give it thoughtful and sober consideration as you progress in resolving the flag situation. No citizen should feel intimidated or uncomfortable by any governmental action on any level regarding their right to vote, protection of their basic rights to safety, or their enjoyment of their life, liberty, and the pursuit of their happiness. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay, now we're going to open the discussion and comments from anyone who wishes to speak on this. And I'm not going to, unless the commissioners direct me otherwise, say everybody against or for. We'll let you speak as you wish. But I would like whoever's here representing the 8th District, keeping in mind that Mr. Martin was on our agenda. He was there for the time he needed, and he didn't utilize the time we generally give. But whoever's here from the 8th District, to please keep in mind to keep your comments as brief as possible. Who is that person?
Mr. Moore. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Moore was going to present it. If she's not here when my time comes, I would like to present a statement from the 8th District.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Hudson, thank you. All right, now, anyone who wishes to speak to the county commissioners about this, remember this is not an open forum of debate or questions or debate among yourselves. We want to listen to you. We want to hear from you. Commissioners may have some comments when your time is done. I'm certain that all of us will, or I think all of us will. But anyone now who wishes to come up, please state your name and your address, and feel free to speak to the commissioners. And the floor is open. Just raise your hand, and I'll guide you up. There you go. Thank you.
My name is Sherry Allgood. I'm a resident here at Troy, North Carolina, and I stand in opposition against the flag. And I'm asking, if you will, just to consider, what is our standard here in Montgomery County? Are we here for all people, or are we here for some? And even with the flag flying, as a parent, as a former teacher as well, I see the implications of even just having to see the flag itself, and just the feelings that it brings, and the questions that are asked even of my own children and those that I do teach as well. Because this is a sensitive issue, and this is something that, in order for us as a county to go forward and to move forward and to be accepting of all people, we have to address these symbols that are placed out there, because they may mean one thing to one person, but they may mean something else to somebody else. And we have to consider everyone whenever we are publicly funding these facilities. I'm not against it privately, but when it comes to paying my tax dollars, I would ask that you consider taking my children and what I feel into consideration as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Allgood. Next. Mr. Hudson.
This is a statement prepared by Mr. Dylan Frick. There seems to be some confusion. These are not my words, but they're outstanding words. I wished I had written and prepared it. And this is from 8th.
And let's get your name and address, Mr. Hudson.
Certainly. Ray Hudson, 670 Deerfield Road. And I will be reading the statement of Dylan Frick, Chairman of the North Carolina 8th Congressional District Democratic Party. And these are addressed to the county commissioners. Chairman Morris, Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to address you here tonight. And as was written by Dylan Frick, I'm the chair of the 8th Congressional District Democratic Party. At our convention last month in Bisco, we passed a resolution requesting the Montgomery County Commissioners, you, to pursue any means necessary to remove the Confederate flag from the taxpayer-funded Uwharrie Fire Department and voting polling place. The resolution passed unanimously. I emailed all of you a copy of that resolution. Tonight, I want to speak briefly on behalf of not only Democrats, but Americans throughout the congressional district about the resolution. We have a history as a nation, one that we should not forget. As President George W. Bush said at the opening of the African American History Museum, a great nation does not hide its history. It faces its flaws and corrects them. When this resolution was introduced at the floor of our convention, I knew it would be a tough fight. Over the past few years, the issue of the Confederate flag and the Confederate monuments on taxpayer-funded grounds has surfaced all over the nation. South Carolina's legislature removed the flag from the Capitol grounds in Columbia. New Orleans removed the last monument of Robert E. Lee earlier this year. The debate over the Confederate flag is an emotional one. People in support of the flag being flown alongside the American and North Carolina flag is that it represents heritage, not hate. While the flag and other Confederate symbols may deserve to reside in a museum, these symbols do not represent the heritage of Montgomery County. Montgomery County was unlike any counties in the South during and before the Civil War. The majority of citizens were Wesleyan Methodists who were opposed to the war. Essays from families just before the war described the communities as peaceful and productive. But during the war, many social activities in the community were halted when rebel militia groups moved in and occupied the county. The Wesleyan Methodist preacher in Montgomery County, Adam Cook, was arrested for speaking against slavery at the pulpit. Letters from the family members during that time described the invading militia as groups of 10 or 11 slave-owning men with guns. They pointed their guns at Cook and forced him out of Montgomery County forever. During the militia raids, the communities were consumed with terror. A letter from Phoebe Crook, a Quaker in Montgomery County, to Governor Vance called on him to protect the civil law and writs of our country. She pleaded with the governor to denounce the militia groups that wreaked havoc on her town. Instead, the governor directed the militia to go into woods to seek out deserters. The militia burned down homes, barns, and businesses. They physically abused women, children, raping and enslaving them. They murdered any person deemed a threat to the Confederacy. On January the 28th, 1865, less than 4 months before General Robert E. Lee surrendered, 3 men were captured by the Confederate militiamen. Jesse, John, and William Houlihan were deemed outliers by the rebels. Without a trial, they were blindfolded and shot to death in an old mill house about a mile down from where the Uwharrie Fire Department is. So, when people say the flag in question is history, well, I just described is real history. As well, it is the searing truth. There is a difference in remembering history and revering it. The Confederate flag is not just a needle and thread. It's not just an innocent reminder of a genial history. That flag flies to celebrate a sanitized Confederacy that ignores the terror that it actually stood for, the terror that it represented right here in Montgomery County. Montgomery County represents so much more than this symbol of oppression. It is a county rich in culture and history. It's a county made great by centuries of Native Americans, African Americans, Latin Americans, and European Americans. Montgomery County was once a shining county on the mountain that represented tolerance and pragmatism. The Uwharrie Fire Department is funded by taxpayers throughout Montgomery County and served as a voting site for hundreds of people during elections. Let's remove the flag and start to focus on what really and truly makes Montgomery County the golden opportunity to prosper. Those are his words, and I wish I had written them. I would like to add, these are my words. My grandfather fought in the Civil War at the age of 14, and I'm offended by the flag. We need to be honest about what it is. The Confederacy has descended. It's the Klan and the Nazis that carry the Confederate flag. That's not what we're about. We're about what Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence. We're a nation of all people who were created equal, and we have to stay true to that. That's the first principle of government in this country. And any symbol opposed to that is offensive and should not be on any government building. What they do on private property without government funds is their business, but there's no place for the government to subsidize that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hudson, for your information, the county commissioners do have a copy of the 8th District Resolution. I got that to them today. I got it yesterday and got it out there today. And it's basically the same in principle as the Montgomery County Resolution.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Now, anyone else? Either side or anywhere in the issue? Anyone else? Yes, sir. Hold on. I got the pastor first, but you'll get your chance, believe me.
We're next door neighbors.
Pastor Wilson, if you would give us your name and address, please.
Larry Wilson, I'm 425 East Main Street in Biscayne, and I'm definitely not used to talking to people. And there's this many people behind me. I know the pride that I felt when I was a child about being Southern. I agreed with William Faulkner when he said that all Southern boys dreamed that they could have stopped Pickett's charge at Gettysburg and the South won the war. Pride, though, as I've learned, is the first of the deadly sins. We start out, I am better than you, my family, my race, my state, my region, my country is somehow better than yours. Flags are symbols. One could easily go concrete and say that a flag is just a scrap of cloth. But this flag is not like a sign. A sign gives you directions. You know, go down here, there's a curve, there's a stop sign. That's a sign. But a symbol is something that got altogether different. A symbol participates in the life of the community. When you sing the Star-Spangled Banner, it is not about people, it is about Star-Spangled Banner. But it participates in the life of the people. You go to Washington, you see the statue of the Iwo Jima when they're putting up the flag. Why would any soldiers stop in a dangerous place and on high ground put up a flag? Because the flag mattered. It was a symbol of what was going on. Symbols can give courage, and they can give pride, but they also can give separation. The Indians, when they were being moved from North Carolina to Oklahoma, did not care much for the flag that led them on the way. It was a symbol of what separated them from the people there. Flags, for the most part, I don't like them much. I would only fly one flag, and that's the flag of the whole universe, because God is the creator of the whole universe. Flags are about separation. And any good theologian will tell you that separation is always the consequence of sin. Flags always leave people out. The task of any real Christian is not competition with other religious groups or denominations, but atonement. And that's just what it says, at one meant. Being at one with everybody. Theologian Paul Tillich says that the absolute that matters is being. We're all being in this place. Every one of us. And when you look at another being and you see them as a thing, or call them something other than call them a thing, you have sinned against them, but you've also lessened yourself. Many people, when we look at the flag, don't see the harshness of slavery or segregation, but we see the pride of the region. But the Confederate flag did stand for separation. And you still see it today. the North against the South. My goodness, I heard people Sunday before last say, that's what a Yankee does. Just like an aggravating something, huh? Religious institutions were all split by racism. In 1948, the American Baptist Convention threw the Southern Baptists out because they wouldn't let missionaries be slave owners. All of the denominations in the South split. You want to know why they call them United Methodists? But they got back together. The Southerners didn't. But they also hijacked the overall message. Frederick Douglass, in his book, The Narrative of Life, Frederick Douglass and American Slave States, I assert most unhesitatingly that the religion of the South is a mere covering for the most hard crimes, a justifier of the most appalling barbarity, a sanctifier of the most hateful frauds, and a dark shelter under which the darkest, foulest, grossest, and most infernal deeds of slaveholders find strongest protection. Were I reduced again to the chains of slavery, next to that enslavement, I would regard being a slave of a religious master the greatest calamity that could befall me. For of all the slaveholders with whom I have ever met, religious slaveholders are the worst. I have found them the meanest and basest and most cruel and cowardly of all others. A religion of grace becomes a religion of status quo and hatefulness. Read any biography of a woman slave, and you will find it much, much worse. Their children were separated, and white men could molest them without any penalty. The flag became a symbol of slavery to the slave and white supremacy to most everyone else. All saw the flag as a symbol, whether good for themselves or for evil. It was still a symbol that participated in the life. The Klan used the flag. It was an old symbol, one they could pick up quickly, and it took in all the things that they needed to see so that they could get accepted quick. The loss and grief of war, the anger of those that were killed, and the despair of property destruction. And all the loss of social status as African Americans were given a new status. But in my lifetime, race also disrupted religion. A deacon at church said, if a black man comes at our church, he will not live past sundown. That's not a long time ago. I'm old, but not that old. Another said the Klan was a religious organization. That's when I quit believing all they had to say at church. On cars outside the church, the flag was there. Race also created a corrupt justice system. I told my brother that when I was young, it wasn't against the law to kill black people. He said, yes, it was. I said, do you know anybody that went to jail for it?
Pastor Wilson, we're going to ask you to wrap
Well,
up.
they told me they were going to give me their time.
Oh, well.
Okay, I got two others. And they're not going to speak, so I can. You'd have thought, by the way they were caught, that the Klan were master criminals. I'm convinced that most of the police knew who did it, and most of the other people in town did too, even though I was a young man. When they did bring high-profile cases to court, those who were there were turned loose. The flag was flown there also. Race corrupted community. I was with my father, a distributing agent for Texaco, and after LBJ had said that black people were as good as he, Daddy's gas customer said, no N-word person is as good as me. It was tobacco harvesting time, and the store was filled with black men and women fixing to go into the fields. These merchant farmers talked loudly, making sure their workers heard what they thought of the people with brown skin. I was 14 years old, but I could see their pain. I did not say a word, and that would not be the last time that I was silent. God forgive me, and may the others forgive me too. The flag was prominent in the store and on the cars. I saw racism and the effect of it in our maid. Mary took care of us all. She fixed our meals, washed our clothes, made our beds. She would not eat at our table. She went out on the porch, and 4 little tow-headed white boys followed her out there to eat. Mary got sick one day and could no longer stand. She lay down on the floor. My mother begged her to get into bed, the bed she just made. She said, "I cannot lie in your beds." There wasn't a flag there, but it had already done its job. Maybe even the worst thing about racism is what it does to our best selves. White people are not innately evil. Neither are black people or Hispanic people or any other times. Though sometimes it might even seem that way. March the 7th, 1965, Bloody Summer, I remember it. I was just turned 13. But I recalled it again when I saw the movie Selma. And like all movies and all stories, I find myself in them. And on that day at the Pettus Bridge and the marchers were coming down, I saw myself and the troopers getting ready to attack the marchers. That's where my people would have been. Most of them belonged to church. Most of them didn't want to go and brutalize those people on the bridge. They did not want to go. I know they didn't. But one would say, if I don't go, I'll lose my job. Others said a third of the police here are in the Klan, and most of the Klan was pressured to get there too. If I speak up, or if I don't go, they might burn my house. Some thought I don't want to be ostracized from my communities. Others said they ordered me to do it, and I done it. Some said they might even call me an N-word lover. And back then, that was a tough thing. Some might have thought I might not even be welcome to church if I go. They all sin against their best selves. It all separates us one from another. The flag was there. It had an effect causing fear and pride. You know, the marchers wanted one thing: to be able to participate in government, to be able to vote, to be a part of this United States, and to have that flag that separates people so badly there leaves them out and leaves our best selves out too. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Anyone else? Mr. Bostic.
Yes, I'm Ralph Bostic from Brutonville, former commissioner and president of the NAACP. I enjoyed the history lesson that the Reverend gave, but I couldn't understand where he was coming from when he talked about that flag, whether he was for it or for against it. I might be a little dense, but I was just wondering what he tried to do. I'm against it. You're against it. Well, that's what I would like to hear. The flag represents violence and segregation. And Montgomery County has been a long time, it's been a long time, but to come to this point, it's not long enough, but we need to do something about it. Montgomery County is better than what we are portraying. When we put that flag and where it is now, when I was on the board, we put a fire truck in that building that costs better than $250,000. That money came from all the people in the county. And while you would sit here and let this go on and on and on, it behooves me. Everybody here has spoken against it, so it should make your job easy to say, let's take it down. And we got other things that we need to deal with other than that flag. We've been dealing with this. I've been off in the board a number of years, and we've been dealing with it then. When are we gonna wake up? All the people around us are taking down flags, monuments, and everything. When are we gonna get in the 21st century? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bostic. Ms. West, you raised your hand a while ago, and I saw you going out the door, and I didn't know where.
Sorry, I had to go through.
I understand.
I'm Carolyn Monroe West, Bisco, North Carolina, and do I need to give my address to you?
Yes, please.
424 East Main Street.
Thank you.
And I'm here to oppose the Confederate flag. A lot of you knew my dad, knew how he felt. He raised us well. That's all I'll say. My first objection to flying the Confederate flag over buildings or businesses that receive federal, state, or county dollars is this flag was a flag of treason in the 19th century. A symbol of rejection of patriotism and secession from the United States of America. Although this should be reason enough to not want it over a building, more importantly, the objection to this flag being flown over buildings and businesses that receive federal, state, or county dollars is that this flag was resurrected in the 1940s and 50s as a, quote, massive resistance campaign against the civil rights movement. I remember this flag being used at KKK meetings right here in Montgomery County. It was made very clear what it stood for. There was no doubt what it stood for. I also remember the hateful talk concerning civil rights and how badly some people were treated, both black and white, in this community just because they wanted to move forward as one nation, created equally. My family suffered some of this personally. This flag continues to be flown with Nazi flags to divide races of people and to separate us as a country. I pay taxes in this county, and the thoughts of this flag being flown over anything that represents my county is embarrassing and sad. I have no problem with the Confederate flag being flown from private property. I have a very strong Scottish heritage, and from time to time you'll see the Scottish flag flown from my house. But no flag but the United States flag and the North Carolina flag should be flown over buildings and businesses that receive federal, state, and county dollars. My question to y'all and to the people who want to continue to fly this flag is, can we not find a better way to express our pride in being Southern and our Southern heritage? Is this flag the only way we can do this? We have a lot to be proud of as Southerners. Something much more proud than a flag that was a flag of treason and a flag of repression. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Best. Anyone else? Lee, good to see you. If you'll give us your name and address.
Good to see you. I'm Lee Hudson from 1950 NC Highway 109 Patrol.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
I'm in UR's Fire District, and I'm on UR Fire Department. I'm not speaking for the fire department, but just my beliefs. I looked over the resolution. There's several things that I did not agree with, obviously. It's obvious that the flag means different things to different people, and I understand that some people see the hate that the flag is some people use the flag for. At the UR Fire Department, we're not a hate group. We have no prejudice. We don't see color when we're going to help families or protect property. That's not what we are. The flag also represents geographical pride to us, or to me anyway. The flag means very little to me. It was there when I got there, but it does not offend me, and I hate that it offends anybody. Speaking about flags, I've seen this year 2 people not say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. Is that one next? I mean, we're in a society where everyone gets offended over every little thing, and the majority has to bend down and appease them so that they don't get their feelings hurt. And I don't think that's right for everyone to have to do that involved in any flag, because what's next? I've always heard that Montgomery County was named after General Montgomery with the Confederate Army. I mean, are we going to change the name of the county to do away with the memory and the history of Montgomery County? That's about all I've got. I just mainly want to say we're not a hate group, and we do not see the flag as that. That's not what we're representing by the flag. You hear from the extremist groups using the Confederate flag. They also use the Christian flag and the American flag, right? I mean, they can use whatever symbol they want to with free speech. But that's my position. That's all I've got.
Lee, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Let me tell you why I ask you that is when we close this public opinion, this will be the last time that anyone will get to speak on this particular issue tonight. We do have another public hearing coming up pertaining to the budget, but that's all that we will allow anyone to talk about in that public hearing is the budget. Anyone else? Mr. Little. If you will, Mr. Little, give us your name and address.
I'm Harvest Little, and I'm at 165 Winslow Road, Jackson Springs, which is a part of Montgomery County. And, you know, over the years, we have been talking about this flag over the fire department that's in the Warrior community. And I heard part of what the gentleman that was here prior to my coming up, that it wasn't about hate. Well, I take a different perspective about that. That flag represents, I am African American, and I know what that flag stands for. And that flag represents hate. It is divisive. It is not American. It is the battle flag of the Confederacy, not the Union. Some close to 20 years ago, this issue came before the county commissioners, and at that time, it was not dealt with, or perhaps it was dealt with, and that dealing with was nothing. Nothing came from it. We're talking about taking taxpayers' dollars, which is my taxpayer dollars, and many others, everybody else in here, I'm assuming that they pay taxes, to support a fire department that flies, or a fire station, excuse me, that flies a flag that represents, again, hate, bigotry. It is the battle flag of the Confederacy. Had the Confederacy prevailed, we would not have a union as we have today. It is not right to take our taxpayer dollars. We don't want you to take away the fire station there. We're not denying it. We're not asking that you would do that. But a simple way to resolve this is that they simply take down the flag. And then our county commissioners, the taxpayers of Montgomery County, will continue to support them. If the flag doesn't come down, it's simple and clear, then we should not be financing in any way that fire station there. So I ask of my county commissioners is to accept the resolution that was read and to follow the tenets that's in that resolution. We don't need to be dealing with this 10 years down the road. Not to mention the ugly picture that it gives to the community larger than Montgomery County, how it impacts business. What business want to come here and they see this type of flag flying over the fire department, and it is supported by the county commissioners. And yes, I said by the county commissioners, as long as you provide money to that fire station that flies, that fire station that flies that un-American flag. And I've heard the argument about pride, that it's about pride. I've heard that argument. I heard the argument about heritage. But that heritage and that pride is an insult, not only to African Americans, to every other person, to any person who really consider themselves to be a citizen of the United States and truly believe in the union of these United States. So it rests in your hands as county commissioners to fix this. And I believe that the fixing to this is follow the tenets of, accept the resolution, follow the tenets of the resolution, and this matter is resolved. Will they have fire protection? Somewhere there's going to be some fire protection for them. It may take a little bit longer for it to come from somewhere else, but they're going to get it. So that is my request, and I hope that you honestly, seriously consider the persons prior to my coming in support of a resolution, that you would seriously consider that and accept that resolution, follow the tenets of that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Little. Anyone else? I'm going to close this particular matter down. If nobody else wants to speak, we want everybody to have an opportunity. Anyone else? If not, we'll open the floor for comments from commissioners. If anybody wants to make any comments.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, first of all, that the fire department, as everybody recognizes, there's a building and there are those who staff the fire department. And those who staff the fire department are volunteers. They spend a lot of their time away from family, a lot of time training and meeting the requirements to provide fire protection and emergency response to that particular fire district. I know many of those firemen personally, and I do not believe that any of them see that flag as reflecting their own hatred or dislike or bigotry or racism. They see it as, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, a matter of tradition and a matter of heritage, even though some have said that that's not an acceptable excuse for flying it. I do agree with, I think that equal opportunity, certainly in Montgomery County, and I know that I personally, and I think everyone on this board has gone to lengths to help people of all races, regardless of their religion or creed or color. We've worked in the schools. I know at least 3 of us have been volunteer firemen, 2 much better volunteer firemen than I was, I know. And certainly, I don't know if Wayne, you were a volunteer fireman ever, but certainly a sheriff for many years and a public servant. But when something causes as much distress in the community, and I can understand the feelings that particularly those who are African American feel toward that flag, I would ask that the fire department seriously consider voluntarily taking that flag down.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I retired out of the Bisco Fire Department, and it's like they were saying earlier that when that alarm goes off, I don't think any of the firemen see any color or any prejudice about it. I think it's going to be a very touchy situation. We have to provide that area with fire protection. They pay a fire tax, and you know, it's not on our building, but we do provide the equipment. And so, but I think this board will do everything that they can to to try and please everyone, but it's not going to be done, and so we'll just have to do the best we can and make the best judgment that we can.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a couple of comments. As Mr. Matheny said, I was in, most of my adult life I spent in law enforcement. I never was a fireman. But during my life as a law enforcement officer, I had the occasion to be called in to buildings that were still burning. Leslie Kellum, the fire chief in Bisco, used to be the world's worst about, come in here, Wayne, you need to see this before it's destroyed. And I'd go in there, and it's one of the scariest places that I ever went into, is still a burning building. You could hear the fire still cracking, the ceiling cracking. You're afraid the ceiling was going to fall in on you. These firemen are real American heroes. There's no question about it. They do things without pay. I mean, at least I was getting a little bit of payback, then not much, Mr. Chairman. And I think the chairman has even called me into a couple of burning buildings. And I know we've seen things that are very tragic in fires. You know, as far as flying this flag with the firemen, and I'm speaking from a person from Wayne Wooten, you know, I wish the fire department up there would consider this. Is you go down to First Bank or the Fidelity Bank or any about any business, and that bank was built to be a bank. You know, the bank president is not going to fly his heritage over that bank. He's not going to fly his political beliefs over that bank. Why not? Because it's a bank. It's not meant for his political heritage or his political beliefs. The same with the church, Pastor Wilson. You go to any church, that building is a church building. It's meant to be a church building. The pastor is not going to allow his personal heritage or his personal political beliefs to be flown out front. Why? Because it's a church building, and it's meant to be a church building. I look at the fire department as the same way. The fire department is a fire department. It's meant to be a fire department. It's meant for these heroes to be able to go to pick their equipment up to go fight fires. To me, the same as a church and the same as a bank. You know, the leaders of that fire department should think about why would they want to fly their personal beliefs and their personal heritage over that fire department that's meant to be a fire department. It's not meant to be anything, a political statement. And I wish the leadership of the UR Fire Department would consider that in deciding where to take that flag down.
Thank you. I won't keep you as long as Pastor Wilson did. We got other business to take care of tonight. But I want to make some comments, and I may go some places that may sting a little bit to both sides of this aisle, and if I do, just consider my thoughts with your thoughts, maybe when you're processing overnight. I don't know of a time that, not here in this county, but overall, that we've had more divisiveness, and I think a whole lot of that has to do with what we see every day. We fed people reality shows so they believe it and like it. We can't see a news broadcast on a national news station without people arguing with one another. But I bet you, and I told this to Chief Russell, who's a good man, I told him this 2 or 3 months ago, if you put all of us in a room, every one of us, around a table, and we talked about 100 issues, we'd probably agree on 95 to 98% of them. But we let that 1 or 2% divide us, and we need to think this way about that. To me, there's not a winner and loser in this matter. It's not about who wins and loses. We don't beat the county commissioners, or the county commissioners don't beat the fire department, or the Democrat Party don't win, or even the Republican Party or any other party. This is about what we think might be the right thing to do. And it's laid at our feet now to make some decisions. We've got 10 volunteer fire departments in this county. They're all volunteers. Am I right about that, Mr. Woodard? We don't have a paid fireman in this county, I don't think. So out of that, we do.
Bay Lake.
Okay, Mr. Matheny's from Bay Lake. We don't have many.
But they rely heavily on
right.
volunteers. Go ahead.
That we rely heavily on over 200 volunteers, and if we had to pay them, if we even had to pay the URA fire department, we probably couldn't afford to keep the tax rate anywhere close to being reasonable. They are so valuable to us. And I know that there's probably some competitiveness in this issue. I know people on both sides of the aisle. When I look at the URI folks here, and I see a lot of them, you know, I think about somebody that's not here tonight, but I think about Carol Kearns. Anybody back there know Carol in the back? Who has given more to a community than he and his wife to their church, and been good people, and good Democrats too, by the way, Sam, just so you and I know he is anyway. And who's given more to the community? He was, I think he's a charter member of the West Montgomery Lions Club, and just this week, or last week, a foundation that my wife and I work with got a check from them because they wanted to do good things for underprivileged kids. And I'm going somewhere with this, Ram, but I want you to listen. Commissioner Bostic served as chair of this commission. And I know some people may get rubbed a little wrong by his comments. Some people may not agree with him. I invite you to go to Brutonville and look at what Commissioner Bostic has invested in his community for the betterment of youth and underprivileged people. How many pounds of fish did I cook during our lifetime, Commissioner? 40 pounds for underprivileged youth. This is a good man. And we don't need to be divided from that. We don't need to let this rub us that wrong. I'll tell you something about Ray Hudson, back in the back, who's been very passionate about this. He and I worked in civic events for years and years and years, didn't we, Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
We did. And a lot of that money went to people like the Jesse Cole Center, the Special Olympics, underprivileged people. And oh yes, believe it or not, how much money did we give, I can't remember, every year to the fire service out of projects we did. So we don't need to be divided. We need to think about that. We need to think about those things. Now let me be clear on my stance. I'm opposed to the flag flying at the URI Fire Department. I'm not opposed to you having the flag as a personal heritage and pride. I'm not opposed to that at all. Anyone who wants to display their heritage and their pride. And let me tell you why. Commissioner Anthony Copeland and Commissioner Edgar Morris, at a time when we could not afford the fire service any longer, the county commissioners were in a tight about fire service. We couldn't buy the trucks, we couldn't afford to pay the bills for the fire department, and a couple of them have districts. Went out and did some work, and they came back to us and said, we need to raise taxes 2 cents. And everybody in this county has got to pay those taxes. And we need to divide it where we can buy trucks and not finance them, and where we can support these fire departments. And we passed it, and we heard not one complaint from the community, did we? Not one. So everybody in this county is paying taxes, everybody, to support all the fire departments, including URI and Pekin and Troy and Mount Gilead and Biscoe, where I served. And that's the reason I think that that flag shouldn't fly there, because it offends people and offends me. But I think you should celebrate your heritage. I think you should do that anywhere you want to, just not on a public building where taxes are paid by everyone to support it. That's my opinion. Let me ask y'all something. I'll ask you a couple questions and I'll close out. Anybody in here ever lost everything they had in the fire? Anybody? Late 60s, my mother was fortunate enough to wake up at a house which is close to the URI Fire District, or the Baden Lake Fire District 1, I can't remember, it's right on the edge, and wake us up, which we wouldn't have never gotten out of there. It was almost one part of it engulfed. And we stood out right on Christmas time with cold weather and watched our house burn down. Unfortunately, there wasn't any fire department except Troy. And Troy was 15, 20 minutes getting there. You can imagine what happened. And there we were, lost all of our belongings. If you haven't never had that happen to you, it's a disastrous feeling. I think that it prompted me to serve as a volunteer fireman. My brother served as a volunteer fireman. I served with Commissioner Crisco, who was a good fireman. Sheriff or chief at the time, I can't remember. We had a call. We made the call. We made calls real quickly. We had people close to the fire department. We jumped in their trucks. We rushed out to the fire, Stewart Street. Am I right about that? And folks, if you've never seen people perish in a fire, you do not want to. You do not want to. And when we saw those young children being brought out of that house, that's not any fun. And we always ask yourself, Commissioner Crisco and Commissioner Wooten was there, did we do everything we could do? And that sticks with us. So where the commissioners are is, if we follow the resolution, and I've heard all of you, and there's great points, and I will not argue with that. You make great points that I agree with. But the commissioners do everything the resolutions and people are asking us to do. It basically says defund. And I'd hate to wake up one morning and not have fire protection in that particular district. Now, what am I saying? And I'll be clear about it. Is the Montgomery County Commissioners this year for the URI Fire Department last year got a truck, is that right? And everybody in this room paid for it, it's paying taxes. Over the year, they had a USDA issue that all the commissioners agreed with, that we could use the difference in what a truck may cost and what the truck costs to help them with the USDA. And I think we even, through the Council of Governments or the state district where I serve, helped with some paving and things of that nature. Am I correct about that? I know that our district guy agreed to do some paving and such as that. So the county's been very respectful of the fire department, and what I ask is, like Commissioner Wooten did, is, you know, celebrate your heritage. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Celebrate your pride. But I think there's a place for it, and I don't think it's on a place where a flag is flown, where all the taxpayers pay the taxes, that it offends some. If we run an Al-Qaeda flag or an ISIS flag out here somewhere, it would offend many of the people in here who may disagree with what I'm saying. And there are many who is offended by the Confederate flag as much, that pay our taxes, as much as I would be and you would be, most of you, offended by those flags. Now, I'm going to close, Pastor, if that's okay with you, my comments. We hope you'll go back home to the URI Fire Department. I see some of the members here, and let me say this about the fire department. I don't think I know most of them's families, or most of them. I don't think there's hatred or bigotry in their heart. I don't think there's racism in their heart. They're good people. I could say a lot of good things about a lot of them, but it'd take me all night. But I ask that you go back home and consider what we've heard tonight and consider taking the flag down, and this problem goes away then. As Mr. Little said, if the flag would come down, the problem would go away. I want to ask one more thing, and then I will, as I say, close. We've got a lot of good people here tonight. We don't need to be divided. We don't need to have this divisiveness. But I wish we would have seen this many people in the audience when we had our public town sessions about what we ought to do with our $70 million high school. And I wish we had a lot of people come to us and would want to serve on planning committees and Montgomery Community College trustees and things of that nature. And what I want you to do is take this back home as a good lesson. I'm not fussing at you for not doing it. I'm saying we've got a lot of positions open where you can make a difference. We need natural gas here so bad it's unbelievable, so hopefully the 8th District and the Democrat Party and the Republican Party can get together and put pressure on our legislatures to help us get that in here. We have missed big job producing entities because of that. Commissioner Bostic's worked on these things, and he knows what I'm talking about. He sit right here where I've sat as chairman before. We need help with those things too, so feel good about hoping you'll get involved with some of the other things that we're doing and give us some help with those. We need it. We need the political help. We need the personal help. The sheriff could use some of his committees and all these things. So we hope you'll consider doing that, because we need help with other things. But to the fire department, I personally, and I don't think many people that I know think there's hatred and bigotry in your hearts, but we hope you'll consider what we've said and consider taking it down. What I would like to say, Wayne, is we met with the chief a few months ago, and we talked about this issue. What I'd like to say, if it's okay with the commissioners, is, Mr. Manager, you've heard what's been said here tonight, is what I hoped you would do is speak with even our legal counsel if that's necessary for you to do, and our commissioners, and we'll come back in July with a position statement on this particular issue.
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to.
Not fussing at anybody in the room, I just wanted to ramble like the preacher did a little bit. Go where I went. Do thank you for coming, folks, and to the service, to the Democrats and Republicans and all the youth here tonight and everybody. We appreciate your service to the fire department. We certainly appreciate your service, and hopefully that we don't need these dividing issues. We need to work together. We need to do the 98%, not the 2 or 3%, and work together and make these things work. And hopefully the fire department will consider the request of commissioners. I polled the commissioners back in our retreat in the spring, and the commissioners said they certainly, all the commissioners told me we support the volunteerism, the great things the URI Fire Department accomplishes, and they're also unanimously opposed to the flag being flown over that particular building with county dollars and everybody's taxpayers' dollars. Thank you for hearing me. And again, I'll give you what I thought and what my opinion was. All right, ready to move forward, guys? I think what we need now is anybody here other than for our budget hearing to speak in the public forum about anything else? Because if it is, we need to then have some rules about that. No one wants to speak about, we got the budget hearing come up in here in just a few minutes. But if nobody wants to speak to us about anything else, the flag or that issue's aside, but anything other than that particular issue. If not, we'll forego the reading of the rules. Mr. Manager, is that okay with you?
Thank you.
And we need approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Matheny. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Wooten. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next thing on our item is two public hearings, and we need to recess. We're not going anywhere, but we need to recess the county commissioners meeting to convene as, what's the board, Mr. Manager?
The Baden Lake Fire Commission.
The Baden Lake Fire District Board. And we'll recess the county commissioners meeting right now, and we will reconvene as the Baden Lake Fire District Board. Okay, Mr. Manager?
For the benefit of the 4-H leadership, the county has 2 fire districts. And these districts were created by the voters in the district, mostly in high-density areas, at least for Montgomery County. And it's on the lake. The northern section of the lake, Baden Lake Fire District, and in the southern is the Lake Tillery Fire District. And these voters agreed to tax themselves more in order to provide better fire service, more equipment, more funds, and so forth. Those 2 districts have a board of commissioners that oversee the actions of the department, and then they make a recommendation to the board of commissioners to set the tax rate for that district. The Lake Tillery Fire Commission is made up of 3 gentlemen. They've already held their public hearing. They've made a recommendation to the board of commissioners in our budget tonight for their tax rate. For the Baden Lake Fire District, the commissioners actually sit as that governing body. In the board packet that was sent out, the commissioners do have the audit from the Baden Lake, and they have the operational expense from Baden Lake. There was a recommendation by county finance and the county manager in the packet to reduce the fire tax for that district from 5.5 down to 5 cents. That was based on our due diligence of looking at their operational budget. They had an operational budget of roughly $174,000 for operational costs to run their 3 buildings and their trucks and their fireboat and et cetera. They had salaries of basically $52,000. In their audit and in their capital assets, they were booking $171,000 a year in depreciation. And depreciation is the value, the useful life of their fire trucks and their buildings and their equipment. In order to plan for replacement of that, they were setting aside $171,000 a year. And that was what their accountant had determined based on the useful life of the equipment. If you add those 3 items together, $174,000 for operational budget, $52,000 for salary, and $171,000 for depreciation, again, looking to replace the equipment when it ages out, that was a need of basically $400,000. The revenue that they were generating from their fire tax was basically $413,000. Their district bleeds over into Davison County, who gives them $40,000, and then they get a portion of that county-wide 2 cent. The chairman mentioned $19,000. So if you add all the revenue together, they were collecting $470,000 and only had expenses of $400,000. Based on that, the county's recommendation was to lower the taxation, the tax rate from 5.5 down to 5. Subsequent to this recommendation, we did meet with Vince Stamey, the president of the district, and also Chief Larry Pierce. In that discussion was looking down the road at how hard it was to get volunteers to man the station. Right now, they've had to go and hire professional firefighters on their off shifts to come man the station, and they're paying them $12 an hour. And that's how that $52,000 in salaries exists, is paying firefighters to come in on their off days to man the station Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, when the volunteers are working. Well, it's harder and harder, as we all know, at all 10 districts to get people to respond. And so they are wanting to look towards having to hire, for the first time in the county, full-time firefighters. And so they're working on putting together a model for those expenditures. Obviously, the salaries will increase from 51,000 when they have to hire full-time firefighters. And so their request to me in county finance and my revision to our original recommendation is for the upcoming year to leave their tax rate at the current rate of 5.5%. They have agreed to come back with a model for how they're going to provide fire service with full-time, part-time, and volunteer firefighters. We have asked them for due diligence to all the funds that they do have above and beyond operational, that they restrict those just for capital purchases in the future. And so we have a meeting in August with the Lake Tillery Fire Commission on this same thing, about having to look towards full-time firefighters. So realizing the difficulty to get volunteers and the eventuality of that, the recommendation has changed from what's in the budget package to keep the rate at 5.5 cents.
Okay, we need action on that, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir. It'll be a recommendation back to yourself as commissioners to set the tax rate at 5.5% when we have the budget hearing.
We have a motion to,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend that the tax rate for Baden Lake Fire District be set at 5.5 cents per $100 assessed valuation.
and move this back to the county commissioners for approval. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Crisco. The motion was made by Mr. Matheny. Are there any discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, any other business for the,
Not for the Baden Lake Fire District.
okay, we will adjourn the meeting of the Baden Lake Fire District, which we serve as the board for. And now we've got a second public hearing that will be for the county commissioners, and we'll not have to adjourn or reconvene, but we will reconvene the general session of the county commissioners before we do that. And it is now reconvened, and this is a public hearing about the 2017-18 budget. This is our second hearing, and Mr. Manager.
Chairman, thank you, and yes, it is our second hearing. The general statutes of the state of North Carolina require the Board of Commissioners to publish a budget and to have a public hearing to solicit comment on that budget. Montgomery County Board of Commissioners go above and beyond, and they held a hearing in May for public comment on the budget. Their work started long before that. It starts in February for the board retreat when they hear from the different departments and all the needs of the county. It is difficult in Montgomery County. Our revenues, our county is actually losing population. And with loss of jobs and without recruiting new jobs, and it is difficult, and we're having losses with our landfill. One of our major sources of revenue is the landfill here in the county. And now that they've opened a landfill in Randolph County, that the revenue of approximately $700,000 a year is now going to Randolph County that used to come here. And so it was difficult this year with those revenue losses to put together a budget, but the commissioners did that. They continued to focus on education. The chairman mentioned the new high school, the Central Montgomery High School, that is in the works now. After this public hearing, I do have some placards of what the new high school is going to look like, and we'll discuss that. But this budget is dedicated to economic development and to education, and I certainly thank all the department heads that are in attendance right now and all the sacrifices they make and sacrifices their people make in order to put funds aside that we can make the county better through education and economic development.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public would like to speak on our budget, which has been published now on our website at least 2 months, with minimal changes. Does anybody here would like to speak on the public hearing? Anyone in the audience? If not, then we got 2 items. We have to vote on 2 items, correct? Or is the Baden Lake thing a part of the?
It is part of the budget.
Okay,
I will say that.
For the record, let's make that clear.
The budget ordinance that is in the packet, and the finance officer has an amended one. Based on our recommendation, the Baden Lake fire tax was changed to 5 cents. And so is the motion to adopt the budget ordinance with that revision of leaving it at 5.5%.
Do we have a motion from any of the commissioners to approve the 2017-18 budget fiscal year?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the budget ordinance with the amendment of the Baden Lake Fire District tax from 5 to 5.5 cents.
We have a motion from Commissioner Matheny. We have a second.
I'll second.
Have a second from Commissioner Wooten. Are there any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I think we are now down, Mr. Manager, to your report, and we also have some items we move forward, I believe.
That's right, and I apologize for being brief. We do have a closed session tonight with two of our attorneys who are helping us with the Union County IBT, and they've been on standby now for over 30 minutes, and knowing what they cost, I'm going to move forward quickly.
We don't want to know.
But I will, not to steal thunder from the Board of Education, the final plans for the high school are not complete. This board worked very hard leading the charge for the one high school. We put in writing in a contract as to what was important and what had to be taught in that shared technical education facility. Once that was agreed to, we turned the design over to the Board of Ed. But per the USDA loan, this board is the one that has the final approval on that. And so just wanted to keep you up to date and posted as we move forward. We're probably looking at an early site package, hopefully, in the next couple of months. And so I'll ask some of staff, whoever wants to come in, to help hold up these placards just to give an idea about the thing. Trent, if you'll come forward, Robbie maybe, and David, and whoever else wants to come help me here. Just to, I think it's a coming together is a lovely facility. Kind of turn to the commissioners and we'll set it out for the audience to look at when we go into closed session. But you'll see the central campus there. You'll see MCC over to the side. This is the education, the academic wing. This is a two-story academic wing that's pretty much separated from the ancillary functions. Here's the office and the library above it, and then you have the open commons area for dining, and then the auditorium and the gym and the auxiliary gym. And then most importantly here is that career and technical education facility. And I've got a floor plan that shows the subjects we wanted to be taught there that will help kids get relevant skills and be job ready, and of course, again, the MCC campus. It is a connector road from Glen Road over to Page Street. It's quite a bit of an elevation change. It's a little over 100 feet from here down to Glen Road, so you'll get a lovely view of the facility there from Glen Road when you come in. You'll also be able to see it from Page Street. Constant on our mind is price. We're working with the cost estimators to know what this building is going to cost. We're certainly going to have to stay within our budget or close to it, and the Board of Ed is making revisions. Hold up here the floor plan. This is the career technical education facility. You will see that it is the robotics, the HVAC, the auto tech, the welding lab, the industrial maintenance labs, the construction trades, the medical and health services, and so forth. And I'll let we'll pass that around. Here's the floor plan for the high school proper. This is, again, the two-story academic wing, the main entrance here, the auditorium, and so forth. We have digital copies of these, and I'll send those to the board. But again, very excited about it. As far as the county, we're the owners of the building, but the Board of Ed has the design oversight, and we've moved in kind of an audit phase now that we will be monitoring the construction as it moves forward. So, very exciting times.
Let's turn that around, Trent, so everybody.
Yeah, so everybody can come by and see it. Yeah.
Turn them all around.
It's a very lovely facility. It's shaping up to be. All the county reports.
Matthew, if I could just say it, Chris Hildreth has probably been the most involved on the staff, and when we go into closed session, if Chris would maybe come up, and anybody that wants to look at the drawings and needs any explanation, Chris can provide, I'm sure.
Yes, Chris has done a very stellar job of working with the USDA and working with the school system. Very knowledgeable, very vigilant. So Chris, thank you for all your efforts. We would not be at this point, we would not be at this point if it wasn't for Chris and his efforts. Also included in the packet, as is always month, is the board reports, finance, the library, cooperative extension, building inspections, and so forth. I'll be glad to answer any questions about that. I do want to say that we certainly need to voice our concern about the proposed House Bill 795 V4. This House bill is going to move Montgomery County from a Tier 1 status, which the packages that the state puts together to entice businesses to come and rebates. This House bill proposes moving Montgomery County from the lowest, most distressed Tier 1 county up to a Tier 2 county. Shockingly enough, this same study is going to move the counties of Onslow, Johnson, Harnett, Cumberland, Carteret, and Brunswick lower on this chain. So we move up, we're less distressed, and these counties are more distressed. For those familiar, Cumberland
You heard
County
that
is
right,
Fort
folks.
Bragg.
Brunswick, Harnett.
Johnson County goes down a tier, and yet their population has increased 56% in the last two censuses. Shocking indeed that these areas are going to get more help, and we're being told that we do not need it. Earlier tonight, this board also sits as the Montgomery County Consolidated Board of Health and Human Services, which oversees Department of Social Services and the Health Department. The state released its health outcome ranking. Montgomery County ranks 76. Number 1 is the best, 100 is the worst, so we're one of the least healthiest counties. Onslow County, which is going down to a Tier 1 status, is ranking 26. Carteret 23rd, Johnson 21. I don't think you can find a better indicator of economic condition than health outcomes. That's how healthy people are and how long they live. And again, these counties that are getting more assistance are much better off, in my opinion, than we are. And so we will continue to address those issues. Briefly, Chris and I met with the Homeowner Association at Fairway Shores. The number one goal for residential water is Fairway Shores. The lines are undersized. The pressure is not adequate. There's no fire suppression. We have, Chris has put in a grant to help fund that project, but recognizing how severe the issues are there on Holly Lane and Dogwood Lane, that we are moving forward in-house by replacing lines in those two small roads. The water pressure literally, first at the end of the road, when people in front of them turn the shower on, you don't have any water. And those pressure issues create health concerns. And now that we're definitely going to do the full project, hopefully we'll get grant, but the board's already expressed their desire to move forward with that project this year, that we're going ahead in-house and starting those two most affected areas. It will not impact the bigger project or the amount of money we can, but we're just trying to bring relief to the folks out there in Fairway Shores. More and more people living there full-time now. As the board knows, a lot of those, when that subdivision was built, they had 1.5 inch water lines because there was only 1 or 2 houses out there. And now it's built out and is probably the most condensed, heavily populated area in Montgomery County and Fairway Shores. Livingston Point is the number 2 project for the residential water lines. We have struck an agreement with the homeowners at Livingston Point for that project. We'll have more details forthcoming with that, but we're hoping to bring some relief to those areas. Also in water issues, the town of Robbins, who buys water from Montgomery County, water breaks down as it ages, and so we are trying to get the water delivered to them more quickly. Obviously, the water plant's at the lake in Mount Gilead, and Robbins is not only across our county, but into Moore County. And so we're going to put a mixer into the stand tank on Dairy Road to try to circulate the water better to meet some of their needs, but I'll be providing more information about that. But with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions about county affairs.
Commissioner, questions? Do I think it'd be prudent to take on the items we move forward now.
Yes, sir. I apologize about that. At the earlier meeting tonight, Health and Human Services, there was a carry-forward item. That was a budget revision to the block grant for older adults. The Council on Aging, Montgomery County Council on Aging, and the Troy Senior Center, they are the recipient of federal funds that come through the county to provide services to older adults. As we get close to the end of the fiscal year, we move money around to make sure the funds are maximized and we don't have to return any funds. And so there's a budget revision that the Health and Human Service Board voted to pass forward, and we need action on that item.
Have a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Athenia to approve. We have a second.
I second.
Have a second from Commissioner Wooten. You might have to whiz that.
I was looking at
Anyway, are there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Was there another issue that was brought forward?
I think it was on the consent agenda.
Okay,
with
good
the
deal.
bad debt write-off.
That's right,
Yes,
that's
sir.
right, okay. And Mr. Woodard, if you'll read the policy of going into a closed session, we'll,
Pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11, the Board of Commissioners will entertain a motion for a closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. General policy matters may not be discussed in a closed session, and nothing herein shall be construed to permit a public body to close a meeting that otherwise would be open merely because an attorney employed or retained by the public body is a participant. The public body may consider and give instructions to the attorney concerning the handling or settlement of a claim, judicial action, mediation, arbitration, or administrative procedure. If the public body has approved or considered a settlement other than a malpractice settlement by or on behalf of a hospital in closed session, the terms of that settlement shall be reported to the public body and entered into the minutes as soon as possible within a reasonable time after the settlement is concluded. In essence, that means the Board of Commissioners must operate in the public eye, and they can't do any business outside the public eye except in matters related to attorney-client privileges, in this case, strategy. Union County was awarded the certificate to move forward with their interbasin transfer to take 30 million gallons of water out of the lake a day to meet their needs for growth. I think most people in the room know the county's position against that IBT transfer, and so we're going to end the closed session to talk to Tom Terrell and Hayes Finley with Smithmore Leatherwood about our strategies moving forward.
okay, do we have such a motion?
Move to go into closed session.
Got a motion, Commissioner Athenia, do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second, Commissioner Crisco, thank you. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll reconvene the, do we need to get a motion to come out of closed session? We'll reconvene the general session of the county commissioners for this, the 20th day of June. And in the closed session, we discussed strategy about the IBT with our confidential strategy about the IBT situation with our attorneys. And what we need is a motion to move forward with an appeal, along with moving forward with the procedures of budget and budget review that has to do with that. Mr. Woodard, is that adequate? What you?
Yes, the board to make a motion to move forward with the appeal process against Union County. The appeal deadline is July 25th. Obviously, funds will have to be expended. The attorney gave us broad figures as what it was to cost. Obviously, a new budget year, we have funds dedicated for attorney fees, so we don't have any revisions due at this time, but there will probably have to be modifications throughout the year.
That the commissioners would have to approve?
Yes.
Okay, do we have such a motion?
I'll move to proceed with the appeal of the Union County IBT certificate.
Got a motion from Commissioner Matheny. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Crisco. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Woodard, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you for your time tonight, and thank all of you for staying around. We appreciate that. If nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.